Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the main roster on Twitch Sports. My name's Dan, and as always, I'm joined by the wonderful Jeremy. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm doing really well, actually. Yeah, thank you for asking. It's been a good day.
Good, well done. Usually it's not always that cheery when you start.
No, I've got to have a good day every now and again, haven't I? I suppose that's the...
Yeah, I suppose you got to.
Key. Yeah. No, yeah. It's been good. I've managed to watch both last week's Smackdown and last night's Raw in one day, which is nice.
Well done.
One of the benefits of us doing the show a little bit later than we used to. Normally it would be, if I had to watch Smackdown and Raw, it would be panic and get up at the crack of dawn and like no interruptions, otherwise I wouldn't have the time to get it in. But it's a bit more relaxed now.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
How's your day been? Equally as fantastic?
My day's been good. You know, I've been enjoying the sun, but the most important thing that I've been enjoying is the main roster championship.
I did wonder how long that was going to take you, and the answer was 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. And I guess you could call this the main roster championship 2.0 because I've added the new red gems and some blue gems. So,
well,
yeah.
The thing is, Dan, I don't even really know what you've got there, because what I have here is the main roster championship. So I really don't know what you've got in your possession, to be honest.
I've got in my possession a real leather championship belt, not a faux leather that cracks really easily.
Well, you can't tell that from the video very much, but there you go.
And the fact that yours also says TNA on it.
It doesn't. Where does it say?
It does
TNA?
if you move to the side plates.
This one.
No, next one.
The next one. This one.
No,
this
next one.
This one at the end.
No, next one. No, not that one. The one that your hand's covering.
Don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, and mine is stylish in yellow for the logo. You know. Yeah, I'm not missing my belt at all.
Yeah, you're not at all, are you?
Not even a
not
little
bit.
No.
Oh dear.
But it's fine.
It's
fine. You won it fair and square. It was almost a total annihilation, almost a flawless victory. I did win one, so that I can rest on that, and I will win it again between now and SummerSlam. I'm gonna smash out some pay-per-view prediction wins and get it back in the summer.
Hope to.
I'm going to get it back in the summer.
You hope.
Yeah.
To.
And you've nicely blinged it up for me, which is really good of you. Like, considering
I think
you're
it
not
does
going to
look
have it
better
very
with
long.
redstone.
It does.
Oh no, I'm
going to
have it for a long time.
Yeah,
with the red.
Yeah. But considering you're not going to have it very long, it's really good of you to invest in it. I like that. It's very kind.
Yeah, they're not real gems.
Well, nobody would have known that if you hadn't said anything, so there you go.
Yes, a real Swarovski crystal.
I'll edit this later to take out the bit where you said that they were fake. Anyway, shall we crack on? We've actually got 3 shows to go through this evening. We've got the Raw After Mania. We've got last week's Smackdown and last night's Raw. So let's see if the Raw After Mania was anything to be excited about. One thing that potentially could have been exciting was that it was from a brand new Thunderdome. And the Raw After WrestleMania kicked off with a brand new announce team of Byron Saxton, Corey Graves, and new addition Adnan Verk. Raw began with the arrival of the almighty WWE champion Bobby Lashley to the arena. He was confronted by Riddle, who wanted to step up to the champion. Lashley was content to dismiss the original bro at first, but Riddle managed to talk his way into a beating in the opening match of the show. Lashley attacked Riddle during his entrance, brutalizing him against the barrier at ringside. Inside the ring, with the match officially underway, things weren't much better for the former US champion, as the WWE champion put on a clinic, systematically taking apart his opponent for an eventual easy victory with the Hurt Lock.
Yeah.
What did you think of this start to the Raw after WrestleMania?
I think there's been better starts for the Raw after Mania.
Mm-hmm.
It's an alright start, I'll say it's an alright start, but I just think for the Raw after Mania there has been better starts.
Yes, I will agree with you there. It was a good start for a Raw in general, but for the Raw after WrestleMania, yeah, it left a little bit to be desired. And I guess there's very little kind of excitement you can pull out effectively in the Thunderdome compared to in front of a live crowd. So they did kind of take it easy on the usual Raw after Mania kind of stuff, which they didn't do last year, interestingly, even though that was really in the height of, we have 0 crowds and 0 video screens and 0 anything. They hadn't even put in the NXT people for the Raw after Mania last year, I don't think.
They hadn't, had they?
So it was
just empty.
Silence, like WrestleMania was, just absolute silence. And so it was nice to kind of have an authentic-ish show this year. But no, I liked the shots of coming into the arena. We don't get those very often anymore.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do a bit more of that now. They're at this the USF, the University of South Florida, I think it is, instead of in the NBA stadium, which they probably wanted back to play some NBA games in Amway. Being that that's all kicked off now. But yeah, good start. I don't think we needed Riddle to be completely annihilated once again by Bobby Lashley, but I suppose it had to happen to someone, and you choose one of your more irritating baby faces to receive that beating, I guess.
Yeah.
There we go. That's how it started.
Carry
what
on.
Came next?
Yeah, so the next match saw Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin wait in the ring for their opponents, the surprise return of the Viking Raiders. The Vikings got off to a hot start in the match, but the former members of Hurt Business eventually got into the match and put up a fight against the Norsemen. It was ultimately futile though, and the Raiders won their return match with the Viking Experience.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
So the Viking Raiders are back. One of them's been there the whole time, kind of just milling around and jobbing out, but Eric is back. It was Eric that was injured, wasn't it? Or was it Ivar? No, Ivar was injured. It was
Ivar.
The bigger dude. Ivar was injured.
Eric's married to Sarah Logan, that's it.
That's the one, yeah. He was the one that did Raw Underground for a while because Ivar wasn't there.
Yeah. Raw Underground, what was that?
It was this thing where people basically did nothing, and then they broke COVID restrictions backstage because they couldn't do that in the ring, I think is the... If I'm remembering correctly, that's the crux of that. So it's good to see the Vikings back, I thought. The only thing I didn't really like about this is that it has really cemented, Cedric and Shelton's place as the new jobber tag team.
Yeah, they're kind of the pick-on boys now.
Yes, which is a real waste of talent. I say especially for both of them. I say especially with Cedric Alexander because he's still very young and he's done a lot to develop himself to put on extra bulk and weight to come out of that kind of cruiserweight size. So I would hope to see him do something better in the future. But
Hopefully.
as is often the case with WWE superstars that are dating outside of the company, they don't tend to get very much for some reason.
Yeah.
Total coincidence, obviously.
Yes, obviously.
Wouldn't do any of that kind of thing deliberately.
Of course.
Of course. But speaking of a partner outside of the company now, next up, Charlotte Flair arrived in the Thunderdome to whine and complain about not being at WrestleMania. On and on she bangs, saying very little of substance other than that we should enjoy our WrestleMania rematch between Asuka and Rhea Ripley. So we'll just do that, shall we?
Alright then.
Yeah, it's better than Charlotte. So, on to the Raw Women's Championship match. As it was on the line, Ripley continued with the same level of aggression and dominance that she had shown at WrestleMania. The pair fought to the point of exhaustion, but the match was ruined by Charlotte, who jumped the two women outside the ring. Charlotte's back, Dan. You excited? Didn't even have the energy for like a sarcastic, positive reply then at all.
Oh, I don't have the energy with Charlotte Flair anymore.
No. She's looking different. Since
she always looks different whenever she comes back.
Yeah, since having COVID and coming back again.
Yeah, she looks like she's done. I don't know what she's done. Done something else.
Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on what she's done, but she looks younger somehow.
Yeah, unless she's had something here done.
Yeah, but she looks a lot closer to how she looked back in NXT.
Yeah.
It just seems like the face is a bit kind of thinner. I don't know.
Unless that's just good makeup or something.
It could be good makeup, contouring, or whatever you want to call it, or it could be that she, spent her entire time when she was off with COVID just smashing the gym at top, doing extra cardio to drop bits. Because she, I mean, I'm not saying that she was fat in any way or anything like that, but she was carrying a little bit more than she had historically.
Yeah.
To put it correctly and politically correctly. So, perhaps she just lost a bit of that puppy fat, and I don't think she looks better or worse. I just think she looks different, and I can't quite place the reason, to be honest.
Oh, I can't either. No.
But she's straight back and into the championship picture.
You know she's going to win it eventually, don't you?
Yeah. She's probably annoying. At SummerSlam. They're probably going to kind of drag this out all the way to SummerSlam. And poor Asuka's just going to be there losing to both of them. Probably for most of the spring. Deep joy.
We move on.
Yeah, we better had. We've got more Charlotte to come on last night's Raw, so we'll save a bit of our despair for that.
Backstage, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler were watching a replay of Mandy Rose falling on her butt during her WrestleMania entrance. Rose confronted Jax, saying that it was embarrassing, but now she was able to laugh at herself, and it just proved that things can happen in a split second. The next split second, she slapped at Jax, and Dana Brooke joined her in the mugging. This led to a non-title tag team match later in the night, after Nia Jax slipped on her way into the ring, and also later in the match making her way back into the ring and became irate. Bizarrely, Brooke and Rose used the opportunity to escape and get themselves counted out.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they'd gone all out to kind of get the better of Nia Jax and wind her up and embarrass her in the way that she had tried to embarrass Mandy Rose about her fall at WrestleMania. And just as they succeeded, and they might have used it to pick up, a win over the tag team champions, they booked.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
I don't see any, logical reason why that would actually happen in the real world.
No. The only thing I'm asking myself in this whole situation is not about the falling. It's about anything like that. Where's Reggie?
Yeah, Reggie wasn't there at all. And he wasn't there on every show that we're going to discuss tonight.
Yeah,
so last week's Raw and Smackdown and last night's Raw, he was nowhere to be seen. He was referenced.
It was referenced by whatever his name is. I've forgotten his name.
Angel Garza.
That's the one.
But yeah, he wasn't there. So I guess Vince has decided that that's done, and he's flicked the switch. He's got out his Men in Black neuralizers to try and make us forget that he ever existed. I suppose.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, the walking off was a shame because I felt like we were actually starting to, see Brooke and Rose actually step up to the champions and maybe become that credible threat to the championships. But no, they ruined it with the leaving and getting themselves counted out.
They need to change their outfits.
They'd still need to change their outfits, yeah. Yeah, it's not getting any better as the weeks go on.
Not at all.
Now, I'm going to tentatively say, I'm not sure how you feel about it, that the next bit didn't really get any better either. You may disagree. In an Alexa's Playground segment, Alexa Bliss spoke about how she was a scared little girl rescued by the darkness, but now she was beginning to realise that she didn't need saving, and that her new friend would help her use what she had learned in the darkness to get revenge. Later in the night, the Firefly Funhouse returned with a reborn Bray Wyatt, and Bray didn't really address the Alexa situation too much, but he did say that he was glad to be back in the Funhouse with his real friends.
Of quotations going on there.
There's a lot of quotations in this show, full stop. There's a lot of, But yeah, now Lily's a thing, apparently.
Lily's a thing. The only thing I liked about this whole thing was just Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, it didn't really do it for me it was one of the major parts of Night 2 of WrestleMania, the fact that Alexa cost The Fiend the match. And so what? The Fiend wouldn't immediately, as this, whatever you want to call him, cosmic entity, demonic type of omnipresent character, he wouldn't have immediately tried to go, "Oi, Alexa, you come back into the fold and you sort this out, otherwise I'm going to end you."
Yeah.
And make dark, weird black blood ooze from other orifices other than your forehead. Family friendly, Dan. Family friendly.
Very friendly. Okay.
But yeah, I don't feel like they have really covered what we need to know. And
unless they are going to, later on, I don't know, Alexa Bliss is going to get into something and then the Fiend is going to pop up and kind of just go, when she least expects it.
Yeah, that's possible. That is possible. And not to get into last night's Raw too much, but she did kind of allude to the fact that she would be returning to the women's division. We'll get to that later, but so maybe that's what's coming. We'll shelf that for the moment and come back to it a little bit later.
Yes, we shall. So, continuing on. In a special Miz TV, The Miz welcomed his wife, Maurice, and John Morrison was there too. After promoting the season premiere of Miz and Mrs., Miz went on to take credit for the accomplishments of Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. This brought out Damien Priest, who said that the headlines Bunny made were his own. Priest invited Miz and Morrison to take a new headline that night. Priest beats Miz and Morrison in a handicap match. Without time to prepare or change into wrestling gear, the match began. Despite the 2-on-1 advantage, the match seemed in hand for Priest. However, when Maurice got on the apron and distract Priest, he asked her politely to get down and was rolled up by Miz, who used the ropes to get the win over the Archer of Infamy.
And it's something that they didn't labour on at all on Raw, but that was Priest's first loss on the main roster. They didn't mention that at all.
No, of course not.
Yeah. Considering they'd been hamming up how he was undefeated until that point.
Yeah.
Like, haha,
yes.
You got beat by the Miz. That's the end of that.
Yes.
Bye-bye undefeated streak.
The whole funny thing I find with this is Miz had his trousers ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. He tried to hide behind Maurice when he wrestles in basically just pants anyway.
Yeah. No, whenever they do this kind of, like, I've had my trousers ripped off, like, oh, how embarrassing, I'll cover my crotch. I'm like, mate, we see more of your bulge when you're wearing your normal wrestling trunks.
Unless they wear, like, trousers when they're wrestling, then I can kind of understand. But when they wear what Miz wears, which is basically just some Y fronts.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, it's not at all kind of an embarrassing thing. I mean, it kind of worked better in this situation because after the trousers were ripped, they got stuck around his ankles and they were just there the whole time. So it decreased his mobility and just made him look really awkward having to shimmy around. But in terms of, oh no, we've exposed your legs and we can see your underwear, it's like, so what? Who cares?
Well,
yeah. No, I totally agree with your point there. Point well made. This John Morrison thing, is that a thing, do you think?
No, it could be.
You think they're working on breaking them up?
Maybe.
Slowly. Maybe Morrison's going to go and join Frankie Monet, which is the worst name in the modern kind of era in NXT.
Just calling her Taya Valkyrie.
Yeah. See, the problem is, in their wisdom, as they often do, WWE shot themselves in the foot by using the name Valkyrie in NXT UK as a, well, she's never going to come here. Let's just, rip off her name and when people Google Valkyrie WWE, then this person will come up instead of getting free advertising for her. And then it'll be like, yeah. I mean, the name Taya Valkyrie never really suited the character of Taya Valkyrie. So it did need a change, but Frankie Monet, really? Really?
Yeah.
And did you watch NXT?
I didn't watch NXT, but I kind of saw that part.
Her promo mic skills were atrocious.
Absolutely rubbish,
terrible.
Weren't they?
Like, she just looked so out of place in that ring. Like, she stood there with the mic kind of like that, and it's like, okay, that's what like rookies are doing.
Yeah.
And then she's like, me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I hope she improves, because otherwise she's not going to last very long, and then John Morrison's going to have to leave as well at the same time. And I'm actually enjoying having John Morrison back. Don't ruin that.
Yeah, he's being a bit of a laugh, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Ridiculous, and I hope they, I hope that in this, what I see to be a split between Miz and Morrison, we have Morrison turning babyface. but more of that kind of hardened, I need revenge babyface. Like, I've been back a year and, I've been saddled with this Joker not being able to do anything of substance for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. And I think the main kind of beneficiary of this whole situation is Damien Priest. I think he looks like $1 million right now.
Yeah, he's looking great at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah. And I'm hoping that we kind of separate Priest from this situation soon, and he goes on to have a feud with somebody else. He needs to move on and grow. Really, there's only so many times you can beat the Miz or be beaten by the Miz before it gets stale and boring. So so watch this space. Next. Elias and Jackson Riker took to the ring to sing a song in honor of the bravery of Shane McMahon. However, Elias's guitar sounded an awful lot like Xavier Woods' trumpet, and the New Day came out to challenge the pair to a match. The challenge was well placed because the New Day made easy work of Elias and Riker and picked up the win.
Yeah.
Don't have a whole lot to say about this.
No, I don't.
It's, we need to keep the New Day busy and have them be entertaining without actually moving them towards the championships.
Epic.
And conspicuous by their absence are the Raw Tag Team Champions.
Yes.
Don't remember seeing them on either Raw since WrestleMania.
I haven't seen them since WrestleMania, so that's curious.
It is a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm just so bored of Elias and Jackson Riker. Just so bored of them. I don't want to see them on my TV anymore.
No.
Even in losing, jobbing efforts, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Shame you guys weren't in the round of releases that happened.
Yeah, especially Jackson Riker.
Yes. Yeah, if anybody deserves to be yeeted from the company, it's Jackson Riker.
After what's happened in the past with him and everything.
Yes,
but we'll get on to that.
Yeah, very little to say about that. So shall we move on to the main event of the Raw After Mania?
Riding high from WrestleMania and the victory at the start of the show, MVP came to the ring prepared to introduce the almighty WWE Champion in a celebration, but he was interrupted by Drew McIntyre and eventually Braun Strowman and Randy Orton. Three men staked their claim to the number one contendership, and so Adam Pearce arrived to book a triple threat match that would determine the challenger for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania Backlash. In the early going of the match, Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre teamed up to deal with the larger Strowman, but as is always the case with such alliances, it didn't last and the two former WWE champions would collide. Only one man could book their place at WrestleMania Backlash, and that was Drew McIntyre, who defeated Randy Orton after a Claymore. After the match, MVP came out to the stage, and McIntyre was jumped by Mace and T-Bar, formerly of Retribution, and McIntyre was left beaten in the ring as Raw went off air.
So all this tells me is that, pardon me, they are going through as complicated a method as possible to create a pay-per-view of rematches from WrestleMania when they could just say it's all rematches from WrestleMania and just get on with it. There was no reason to do this number one contender thing if you were just going to have the same match, other than, to fill time on Raw, which seems to be all they're doing with a lot of this stuff. not brilliant.
Yep.
But I think I've said it before. I really like this team of Mason T-Bar on their own.
Yeah, them on their own is pretty good, and I mean we'll talk about them more later on.
Yeah, I think it's best saved for last night's Raw.
Yeah, because they were definitely some better things happened last night anyway.
Yes,
so
yeah,
we'll save that for later, won't we? So
this left me cautiously optimistic about their future. At least. And considering after Retribution broke up, I was like, well, that's the end of all of them.
Oh, Mia Yim has disappeared, and
not to Dan's dirt sheet you, but apparently Mia Yim and Slapnuts have been moved to SmackDown.
Oh, have they?
So we may see them there soon. 4D Gaming, hello, welcome in. We've just come to the conclusion of our discussion of last week's Raw, the Raw after WrestleMania, and we're about to jump into a very quick commercial, and when we come back we'll be discussing last week's SmackDown, and I'm very keen to discuss the new addition to their commentary team, and we'll have a little chat about Adnan Verk as well, and throw that all together. So stay with us. We'll be back in 2. Enjoy the ads. This is the main roster, episode 57. Be right back. Welcome back to the main roster as Dan shuffles his setup around. Not quite sure what you were up to then. I was like, said, right, we're coming back, and then you were ready, and then you just went, what? And
I just put the belt back.
Oh, I see. Putting the belt on.
Just checking something
on full display, making sure that I can see my baby at all times and cry about its loss.
My baby.
Yeah, it's my baby, and I will get my baby back. But anyway, so before we get underway with SmackDown, as we mentioned, there was another change to the commentary table last week with the Blue brand adding Pat Mcafee. What do we think to the changes on this announced table and on Raw? So the two new people, Pat Mcafee and Adnan Verk. What do you think?
Pat McAfee, why? No, we had this thing in NXT with Adam Cole, eBay. Does that really qualify him to come and be a commentator? No. So I think it's stupid.
I love Pat McAfee.
No.
I think Pat McAfee is fantastic. Obviously, I'm a big, NFL fan, so I was familiar with Pat McAfee already. Remember him very, very well from his days as a punter with the Indianapolis Colts. And I thought the time was around the Survivor Series a couple of years ago. The Survivor Series, the Smackdown, that was overrun with NXT superstars because after the Saudi bleep show, and they got stuck in Saudi Arabia, and the SmackDown roster couldn't make it to SmackDown. That show, where Pat McAfee was on commentary for it, I thought he did a fantastic job at that. I thought he brought a level of passion and excitement that was, lacking in commentary teams and commentators outside of Mauro Ranallo, who I only learned today is not with WWE anymore.
You've only just learned that?
I've only just learned that. I mean, I know he wasn't on NXT, he'd been replaced, but I thought that was just a, he's scared of catching COVID, so he's not going to go there anymore, and he'd be back once the pandemic was over, but he's gone. Yeah. Oh well.
I think he commentates on MMA now or something.
And the reason I found out is because he is going to be the guest commentator at Impact Rebellion for the champion versus champion match with Kenny Omega against Rich Swann. So that'll be neat. I'm probably going to watch that pay-per-view because why not? It sounds interesting.
Yeah, why not?
I'll be rooting for Rich Swann to pull the upset and unify the championships. Not have Kenny Omega have that accolade because he doesn't need it. Massive digression. So yeah, I love Pat McAfee, and SmackDown didn't change my opinion. I loved that he just kept standing up and was just standing there, and you could see in some of the shots where you could catch a little bit of the commentary table on the side that he's so into it, and he's gesturing and he's really enjoying himself, and I just think it's a breath of fresh air. Really, it probably would have been better on Raw. I think he would have been better on Raw personally. But yeah, no, I dig him. I completely disagree with what you think of him, which is nice because we don't often, we don't often completely disagree on things. So yeah, I love Pat McAfee. Good. It's great. Adnan Verk, what do you think of him?
It's all right, but going from Samoa Joe to him. Because we both said Samoa Joe has been actually really good on commentary. He's fantastic. And going to this guy who, I don't know if you noticed listening to it, he did mess up a few times.
A load of times. Not just last week, but this week too.
Yeah, I understand it's like he's new to it, but he's messed up a lot. So, yeah. I mean, we'll get onto the releases in a minute, but why did they get rid of Samoa Joe?
Why did they get rid of Tom Phillips? I thought Tom Phillips was doing a great job as the lead commentator on Raw. Much in the same way, I'm like, why did they get rid of? I can never remember his name, and it annoys me that I never remember his name. The dude that's now the lead on NXT. I did this a couple of weeks ago, and I still don't remember his name. But you know who I mean.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
Like he's great too, and I'm like, why are you chopping and changing this Raw commentary team so much and just gradually making it worse? I don't like Adnan Verk at all.
No, I don't.
I don't think he's got the background for it. Say what you like about Pat McAfee. At least he's a wrestling fan. He doesn't. He knows exactly what's happening in the ring, and he knows all the guys, and he knows some of the moves, and he hasn't messed up. Really, not in terms of the actual wrestling and the names of the wrestlers and that kind of thing. No, Adnan Verk just screams to me, "Oh, we've rehired Mike Adamle." Do you remember that monstrosity?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And it's the same kind of deal. It's an exact parallel. It's like, hey, this guy was great on American Gladiators. He was a really good commentator on American Gladiators. We really liked his style of talking and his real sportsy voice. Let's hire him. Oh, he doesn't know or like wrestling, and he has no idea what's happening and doesn't know any of the guys. Oh, it's all right. He'll learn
it. Be fine.
Q, he didn't, and he was gone within like 6 months. And now, Adnan Verk, who's come from the MLB network, I think, commentating on baseball, it's like, baseball is a far step away from professional wrestling.
It's very different.
It's very different. Like, you could probably take an NFL commentator and drop them in wrestling, and they'd get by fine. Yeah. You could probably drop many sports, like you could even drop probably a golf commentator or a tennis commentator in there, and they would be passable.
Yes.
But baseball is such a kind of slow, plodding, stats-driven kind of sport that, you know, the commentators are taught to really just kind of let the action happen and sit in silence for a while and then react to what happens. You can't do that in wrestling, especially when you've got Vince McMahon in your ear constantly telling you to say this. Don't forget to bring up this. By the way, remember to plug the WWE network. Oh, we've got this sponsor coming up. Chuck that in too. And it's just constant in your ear, and you're expected to talk constantly. They're not built for that. And so, he sounds the part. He's got a really sportsy voice. It sounds like you're watching a real professional sport. But then when he keeps calling, like, I don't even know which one he was calling Eric Ivar the whole time instead of Eric and Ivar. I'm like,
he doesn't know. He needs to go now.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be now. Unless he makes a massive improvement. And he was better this week than last, but that's not saying much. Unless he makes a vast improvement and really gets his learning in and just sits for the rest of the 3 hours that he's on Raw, the other 3 hours is on Raw, and the rest of the week, literally, apart from sleeping and eating, he needs to be glued on the WWE network, watching, taking in moves, listening to those guys and the things that they do, the things that they say. Otherwise, he's going to be Adam Lead out the door very quickly.
Yeah.
And we'll get Tom Phillips back. Or probably not. We'll probably have, a massive, spat with the Fox network because they want Michael Cole as their commentator, but they'll probably bring Michael Cole over to Raw. Michael Cole will be on both, and he'll do my head in because I still don't like Michael Cole.
Oh, man. Anyway,
yeah. And it is a nice segue of sorts because obviously Samoa Joe was a fantastic commentator, but he was the principal victim of the releases from WWE that came last week in their annual post-WrestleMania spring cleaning. So the names that were dropped were Samoa Joe, Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, the Iconics, Mickie James, Kalisto, Bo Dallas, which pretty much puts to bed any idea of him being the Fiend, Wesley Blake, Tucker, Chelsea Green, and Mojo Rawley. Samoa Joe aside, are there any major surprises there for you?
Billy Kay, because she's been on TV quite frequently, not participating in wrestling,
no,
but just being on screen, so that I find a bit slightly odd.
I think the writing was on the wall for both of the Iconics the moment that they broke them up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like them in NXT as individual entities. In fact, I found it very difficult most of the time to tell them apart because they were basically the same person. They had the same color hair, they had the same styling of hair. They're both Australian, that didn't help either. Their music was super similar, and they both had this kind of sultry kind of thing going on. And I'm like, I don't know which one is which, so I'm not going to care about either of you. I've got no vested interest in either of you.
Yeah.
Then they put them together, and most of that, came on the main roster. They weren't paired together for long in NXT before being promoted because it hit. The Iconics team hit. And I don't understand why they broke them up. Even if they wanted to maybe think about pushing one or the other individually, there was no reason to break up the team to do that, in my opinion.
They could still be the Iconics.
Yeah.
So.
And I see what you're saying about Billie Kay, but it's not like her shtick with her CV has been particularly entertaining for the last 4 months.
No, there is that, yeah.
There's only so far you can take that, and they pretty much exhausted that within a week. So, yeah. A shame.
For the rest.
Hopefully they'll reunite elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time before another promotion adds a women's tag division, I think.
Yeah.
And these two could be the real kind of launching pad for that.
Yeah.
Just put the belt on them, give them a long reign, let them pick off any makeshift team that you put together, because there aren't really any other female tag teams, especially outside of WWE. So, yeah. Mickie James isn't really a shock.
She hasn't been around for ages, really, has she?
No. And they'd moved her on to a kind of, veteran contract where it was basically just appearances, of which they're not doing many in COVID land, so that's a waste of everyone's time. Kalisto's a waste. I felt like there was more potential in Kalisto than they ever gave him credit for.
And he hasn't really done much recently.
No, he hasn't. No.
Blake?
No shock there.
Finn.
He's been hanging on for a while. Same, he's been hanging on, doing nothing. Tucker, well, that's a bit of a waste when he could have kept heavy machinery together, but yeah. Chelsea Green.
Yeah.
Again, partner outside of the company.
Yeah.
I think they signed Chelsea Green in the same week that they got rid of Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, so that was always the writings on the wall kind of thing. Yeah. And thank God they've got rid of Mojo Rawley.
Yeah, thank God for that.
I was like, Mojo Rawley definitely overstayed his welcome.
Oh, he definitely did. And he went from that sort of ball player, hype guy, sort of frat boy sort of thing, to this guy that had glass shattered on his face and gear.
I think they were trying to make out that he had like a split personality, and that one of his personalities existed inside the mirror, and they kept swapping round. Yeah, great if you can give that to somebody who has the charisma and personality to pull that off, but that ain't Mojo Rawley.
Mojo doesn't have any of that.
No. Hype man. Yeah, great. Give him that, keep him that party kind of hype gimmick, then
the frat guy sort of guy.
Yeah, fine. He could have stayed there for ages doing that. But when you try and make him out to be something he's not, and start trying to push him towards mid card even, no, he's always a European Championship level kind of guy to throw it back.
Yep.
And, No more 24/7 championship reigns for him.
Good.
And the other thing that I wanted to discuss, because I didn't notice this when it happened, but they gave Andrade his release at the end of March, which I did not know until this week.
Yeah.
I don't think Charlotte's going to face the same fate as the usual boyfriends outside the company, girlfriends outside the company person, but we can dream. Maybe this is the beginning of the end of Charlotte. That'll be nice.
Somebody did put on Facebook as an April Fool's joke, the WWE has come to terms with the release of Charlotte Flair. I was like, and somebody actually did it really well. Like it looked like it was on Twitter and everything. So I actually quickly go on Twitter and go, has it really? No, it's fake.
Very nice. Yeah. No, I would be all for that. I'd probably enjoy Charlotte outside of WWE. But I don't inside. I don't inside it at all.
Golden girl.
So on that note, shall we crack on with SmackDown?
Let's crack on with SmackDown. SmackDown began with the head of the table, who tonight was head of the Gloaters, as he, Paul Heyman, and Jey Uso came to the ring to brag about their WrestleMania victory. He went on to say that with a Hall of Famer and a future Hall of Famer in his rearview mirror, there was no one left to face him, and that he'd be cashing his check and leaving. One man took exception to this, and Cesaro made his way to the ring. Cesaro got a mic, but the Universal Champion voted with his feet and disrespectfully left the Swiss Cyborg in the ring. Backstage, Cesaro demanded a match with Reigns, but Sonya Deville said she'd talk to Reigns and get back to him later. More on that later.
Yeah, there's a few little bits to unpack here. First of all, the fact that Roman Reigns just casually walked off when Cesaro was about to talk on the mic.
Yeah.
Why hasn't anybody done that before? I don't remember anybody ever doing that before, but it was amazing. It's just such disrespect.
It suits Roman Reigns at the moment so much.
Absolutely.
It's brilliant.
It's like, you've interrupted me. I don't have time for you. I don't care for you.
Yeah,
you're not on my level.
Bye.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
It was,
I am the champion.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And Cesaro sold it perfectly as well. It was just like flabbergasted and like disgusted that he'd been like left there on his own. It's like, all right, I guess I won't say what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that Cesaro didn't talk and didn't kind of finish his thought. He's just like, okay, well, if you're not going to listen, then I'm not going to waste my time. No, that was good. I enjoyed that. The other thing is this. What is going on with Sonya Deville?
I don't know.
Because in the real world, as the assistant to whatever Adam Pearce is, the assistant to management, if she kind of circumvented him or acted in the way that she did in the real world, she'd be, written up and fired pretty damn quickly. So the idea that she keeps, contradicting her boss and going in the opposite direction to the logical, reasonable kind of decision, it's not wholly realistic, and I hope that they get on with whatever they're trying to do with it next. Maybe they're, grooming Sonya Deville to actually just be the general manager of SmackDown. Maybe,
because Adam Pearce kind of runs both of them at the moment.
He does, yeah. So maybe, they say, right, well, Sonya can do SmackDown and you can focus on Raw.
Yeah, maybe.
That's kind of the only direction I can see this going. Otherwise, it's just, oh, well, Sonya, you're fired, and back in the ring, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I would prefer. Yeah. I do miss Sonya Deville in the ring.
Yeah, she was definitely getting much better in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Until had she come got to the point of
stalked to hell and had to leave for a while.
Yeah. It's bad for anyone. But
yeah. Creepy dudes, man. Don't get it. Why'd you have to be creepy?
Yeah.
Mama S, hello. Good evening.
Oh.
I like that, that when we're saying don't be creepy, you popped in. I'm not saying anything about that. But I'm sure you've dealt with some creepy dudes in your time.
Yeah.
Before I dig myself too big a hole, let's move on to the next segment of SmackDown. And the opening contest of SmackDown saw Otis, who's a bit of a kind of creepy sex pest in himself, take on Rey Mysterio. The bigger Otis used his size to his advantage, but after he missed a big splash from the middle rope, Ray hit the 619 and pinned the big man with a crucifix pin. So Raw was the night of air quotes. Smackdown was the night of crucifix pins.
Yes.
There were like 4.
Yeah.
Can you written a bit of variation into it? A surprise win with a crucifix. Oh, a surprise win with a crucifix, I guess.
What they did was copy and paste.
Yes. Which is what I did.
Yeah.
When I was writing these notes. I'm like, oh yeah, crucifix, paste. Paste.
Paste. Copy, paste.
And so, as they really labour this Alpha Academy versus the Mysterio rivalry, treading water.
Yeah, I don't really care.
Put the belts on the Mysterios and be done with it. Just get on with it. Put the belts on anyone else and be done with it. Have, championship matches without inevitable outcomes. Just tag team division on SmackDown's a total waste.
Yeah.
And moving on.
Very angry, Sami Zayn took to the ring next and complained about how badly he was mistreated once again at WrestleMania. He suggested the reason for this was that Logan Paul's mind was poisoned by Kevin Owens, the WWE Universe, Michael Cole, management, and, well, everyone apparently. Zayn blames this distraction for his loss to Kevin Owens and challenged Owens to another distraction-free match on SmackDown. Owens obliged and the match got underway, but after KO continued to try and beat some sense into Zayn, Zayn decided better of his challenge and escaped the ring, getting himself counted out.
Yes. Another example of why ask for the match if you're just going to run away from it. And I know that's just a really Healy thing to do, but it's just you're wasting my time, man. Either have the match or don't.
No.
Always drama in wrestling. I love it. So well scripted, particularly in the ring, especially in the ring. Yes. More so in the ring because the wrestlers themselves have more control over that than the actual kind of story they're involved in. No. The main reason for this podcast really is us discussing the story and either how good or atrocious it is. There's never really much middle ground. It's either really good or really bad in WWE. This whole Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Logan Paul thing has been an example of the atrocious, in my opinion. And when we haven't even moved on from it. I guess it's KO and Zayn again at WrestleMania Backlash because we're just copy pasting. Some of them have got to drop out, right? We can't have
some of them.
2 whole nights of Backlash again.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll lose some of them.
We're just going to do WrestleMania again. Just pick another stadium and it's kind of like WrestleMania. Please let us have people again. Yeah.
Anyway,
and I'm not sure it gets much better here. Backstage, Apollo Crews gloated in his Intercontinental Championship victory at WrestleMania and formally introduced Commander Aziz, former member of the Nigerian Guard. He went on to say that if anybody steps up to them, they would face the Nigerian Nail, whatever that means.
I think the Nigerian Nail is the
Oh yeah.
I think that's the Nigerian Nail.
It's like the Samoan spike, but
like Umaga used to use quite a lot, didn't it?
Yeah. So where to start.
Just going to forget that the big guy was Babatunde, are we?
And that he's not Nigerian or even remotely African.
No.
He's not even from the same continent.
No. Just going to ignore that.
Like, he's very Polynesian and not at all Nigerian.
We're just going to gloss over that.
We're just going to insult intelligence once again and be like, wrestling fans, they don't know geography.
Yeah.
Like, he's not white, they'll believe it.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, I think, probably half the audience do.
Yeah.
Like, that seems reasonable. He is Nigerian. Thank you, WWE.
Yeah. Cheers, WWE.
Yeah. The thing is, I do like the pairing. I like that he is...
Yeah.
That he's joined him, but they could have come up with a better story and a less kind of, fake nationality for the dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely could.
Yeah. And still no green on my Intercontinental Championship
Your Intercontinental Championship.
I'm still waiting, Apollo.
You're living in a dreamland there.
I am, yeah. I think he's like the third wrestler I've asked to put colour on it.
Yeah.
And so if Shinsuke didn't, and Big E didn't, and Apollo Crews didn't, I think I'll give up on the belt for good.
I think the only one that had a possibility of putting colour on it was Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, and I didn't want him to do it because I only wanted one colour on the belt, not like 6.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he was the only possibility to have any colour put on the belt, but he didn't really have a long reign, did he?
No. Maybe I'm just going to have to do it myself. Just buy a replica, get it re-leathered in like green leather, and get my Humbrol paints out and go to town. Just do it myself. Just mail it to WWE and be like, here, this is what it's supposed to look like. Take your crap off television.
Okay, if you're willing to spend £300 on the replica.
You found the barrier in this plan.
And then deface it, and then spend about £200 on a leather strap. So.
You've definitely found the flaw in this plan there, Dan. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely a difficulty in what I would like to do.
Not using mine.
No. Maybe after I win my belt back, I can win that belt. How about that?
Oh.
If I've already got the belt and I win from SummerSlam to Survivor Series, then I win your Intercontinental Championship as well.
Oh. Just to annoy you, I'll send one of the Jeff Hardy belts.
I'll go to town on that with paint. Don't you worry about that.
Anyway, shall we move on?
Yes, please.
So, next on SmackDown, the Street Profits made their way into the Thunderdome to lead the championship celebration for the new SmackDown Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. Bianca took to the mic and spoke about the confidence she had going into WrestleMania, telling everyone at home that if you can dream it, you can do it. She also spoke positively about Sasha Banks, but backstage Sasha was irate and stormed off, probably in search of Belair. In another interview, Bayley also challenged Belair to a title match. Things are actually now getting busy for the new champ.
So whoever wrote Bianca Belair's promo has been watching too much Space Jam. If I can dream it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, then I have a championship or something. Yeah. I believe I can fly.
No, not that one.
etc., man. Yeah. It was a bit on the nose as a babyface celebration promo. Like, this is for all the little girls who dream of being a wrestler one day. If you just, believe it, then you can do it. No, you can't. There are thousands of people who try and can't do it.
Yeah.
There are so many different factors in becoming a professional wrestler, and dreaming it enough is not one of them. It helps. You've got to want it, but I want it. I just don't have the requisite, agility, skill, personality, microphone skills,
right,
etc., etc. All right, calm down. And no matter how much I, dream of it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Or a championship.
Yeah. Whatever. So yeah, it was just a bit on the nose, and I would have much preferred, and we did get it a bit. We just moved straight into who her next challenger was going to be, and the waters are muddy. Cool. We haven't had many kind of multi-women matches.
Yeah.
On the pay-per-views for a while. A Fatal 4-Way Women's Championship match would be cool. We haven't had one of those for a while.
We haven't, have we?
Let's mix a few women in and really give Belair a run for her money.
Trying to think when the last Fatal 4-Way Women's match was. Hasn't been one for ages.
No. Like, definitely predating the WrestleMania triple threat. And the one since then. As far as my limited memory can muster. Yeah. Underutilized in women's wrestling, Fatal 4-Ways. And it's because they don't have a very deep roster. So you have a Fatal 4-Way and you've pretty much included all of the contenders for a championship for your, the rest of your year of television. So
yeah, there is that.
Yeah, there's an answer to that, and it's hire more women.
Yeah.
Just despite my rant about how not everyone can do it, there are plenty of women who can do it very well.
Oh yeah, there's a few decent women out there, but
yeah,
you get the right.
I mean, you fired 3 of them last week, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
There was nothing wrong with either of any of those ladies. They were all very, very credible in their own right. But yeah, so you've got. In this situation, you got Sasha Banks, you got Bayley, you got Bianca Belair. Just throw someone else in that mix. One of the Riot Squad, give them an opportunity.
Right.
Yeah. Or Mia Yim. Now that she's going over to SmackDown.
Mia Yim.
Throw her in there too. Whatever.
Or don't know if Io Shirai would come up to the main roster for it.
That's a good point. We're probably not far away from her promotion.
Yeah. She lost the NXT Women's Championship, so
yeah,
might.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to see Io Shirai on SmackDown. That would be fantastic.
Just tearing it up.
Yeah, I love Io Shirai. She's a fantastic wrestler.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best women's wrestlers in recent memory, to be honest. In terms of technical skill and ability to high fly. And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
But aside from Bianca Belair, the Street Profits looked to bring home gold to the household when they took on the Dirty Dogs for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. The Street Profits fought well throughout the match, but the veteran knowledge came into play after Ziggler made a blind tag and surprised Montez Ford from behind with a zigzag to retain the titles. How many times can the Street Profits fail to get their championship back?
Yeah. A lot.
A lot, apparently, and
yeah.
I'm bored of it.
Yeah, I'm bored of it.
I'm fine with the Street Profits. I really enjoy them, find them very entertaining, but when it's the same match over and over and over again, then even I lose interest.
Copy paste again.
Yeah, so put the belts on someone else and then have the Street Profits go and lose to them 6 or 7 times. Fine. At least it's different.
Yeah.
I'm bored of Dirty Dogs versus Street Profits over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I did, however, like the blind tag. Angelo Dawkins doesn't know that Dolph Ziggler's legal, and Montez Ford doesn't know, and all that kind of stuff. Because Dolph tagged and then he got down again so that it wouldn't be noticed.
Yeah.
Just very good, authentic-looking tactic, and then the zigzag from behind, which is the way that
out of nowhere
the zigzag goes. It's a very good finisher to have if you're going to sneak up on a guy and finish them when they don't know that you're legal. So I liked that. That was something, at least.
Yeah. Cool.
Yes. And we're back to the women's tag team champions.
Yeah, so continuing where they left off at WrestleMania, Shayna Baszler and Natalya went one-on-one on SmackDown. With conflict looming between Nia Jax and Tamina outside the ring, Jax found herself on the apron. This will cost Baszler as she focused on not colliding with her partner, allowing Natalya to pick up the win.
And I'm going to shelf this conversation because it ties in nicely to what happened on Raw. The only rhetorical question I will ask is how many times is Shayna Baszler going to be costed a victory by her own partner before she just loses it?
Really a lot.
And we'll come back to that in a little while. So in the main event slot, following Cesaro's challenge earlier in the night, Paul Heyman accepted the challenge of the Swiss Superman, and the match was on in the main event. Cesaro versus Jey Uso. The Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner. Cesaro had a great showing against main event Jey, but as Cesaro looked to put it away with the big swing, Seth Rollins jumped Cesaro and caused a disqualification. Rollins screamed from the top of the ramp that he wasn't done with him and that they'd only be done when he said they were, as SmackDown went off the air.
So Seth and Cesaro at WrestleMania Backlash.
Yes. And I know I've been complaining about it just being rematch. This is the only one I'm okay with because we can watch Cesaro and Seth Rollins wrestle over and over and over again, and it'll still be a different match. I'm fine with that.
They're actually decent,
and I really think that they are going to build towards Cesaro versus Reigns at SummerSlam in August.
Yeah. So
you do need to kind of put some distance between them now, and it be, Cesaro is constantly, putting people away and then trying to go after the champion only for somebody else to provide an obstacle, and just keep doing that over and over and over again until finally he gets his shot at SummerSlam and he can win. He can become the champion at SummerSlam again, probably in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
I don't see them
having
a major crowd until SummerSlam now.
Yeah. Imagine the pop they'll get if Cesaro wins the championship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes. I mean, Cesaro's amazing, and everybody apart from the powers that be historically seem to know that.
Good luck. Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed Seth Rollins' high-pitched screech at the top of the ramp. I don't know what he did to his voice, but he did kind of, channel his inner Karen for that shouting. He was definitely asking to see the manager in an irate a way as possible.
Yeah.
So might start calling him Karen Rollins from now on.
Rollins.
If he's going to keep acting like a Karen. But, I mean, being a Karen really suits that heel, like, holier-than-thou Messiah character that he's got going on. So, good job, Karen. I'm enjoying your work.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's SmackDown in the books.
Yes, it is.
Which leads us into our second and final commercial break. We'll be back in 2 to discuss last night's Monday Night Raw and really close off some of these things that we've been discussing.
Yes.
Well, as closed off as you can get in an ongoing story. But you get my idea. You're watching the main roster. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 2. Welcome back to the main roster, episode 57. It's been a fairly long one as we do our post-WrestleMania TV show recap. And we're going to get into Monday Night Raw now. Would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. So Monday Night Raw kicked off last night with Scottish Warrior Drew McIntyre. Drew celebrated his victory last week, earning another shot at the title at Backlash, and called out MVP for setting the dogs, Mason T-Bar, on him last week. MVP came out and flatly denied any affiliation between the Hurt Business and the former Retribution members, but the argument wasn't helped by another sneak attack by the Giant Pair as they delivered the double choke slam to McIntyre and left him laying in the middle of the ring.
So, again, more to come with the Retribution tag team, so we'll leave that for the moment. But a nice start to Raw. I do like the talky kind of openings. I've mentioned that several times in the past. And then when it kind of sets you up for the rest of the show, I like that even more. We knew what we were kind of expecting after this opening segment, and that was, Drew McIntyre was obviously going to be trying to seek revenge on Mason T-Bar, and he was going to try and either prove that MVP was involved in some way, or at least find ways to blame him regardless. So a nice setup for that. Did you enjoy?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. You basically covered it all, really.
Cool.
So,
great minds. Yeah. This isn't a Pat McAfee situation. We agree here.
We agree on this one.
So moving onwards, we'll get back to that a bit later when we reach that part of the show. But in a rematch from last week, Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander took on the War Viking Machine Raider Experience. Despite a dominant moment from the former Hurt Business members, the result was the same as before, with the Vikings gaining yet another victory. This was a match that happened.
It was a match that happened.
It's exactly the same as last week.
Yes. Copy-paste.
Thanks for wasting my time, WWE.
Yes.
I could have watched last week's Raw to get this same thing, except last week was more exciting because it was the dudes returning. This week we didn't even have that excitement.
No. Shall we continue then?
Yeah. They should have kept the Hurt Business together. They were great. I agree. They should have kept the Hurt Business together. Yeah. We covered that fairly extensively on this show. It's such a waste, and it's systemic of WWE not being able to manage a stable ever. Yeah. They just can't do it.
Unfortunately.
But yes, let's move onwards, because this bit was actually fairly interesting, at least.
As Randy Orton was being interviewed about his victory over The Fiend at WrestleMania, he was interrupted by Riddle, who suggested that since neither of them have titles, they form a tag team, RK Bro.
Nice.
Yeah. Somehow Orton kept his cool and walked away from the original Bro rather than cave in his skull, and went to Adam Pearce to demand a match. After the match began, Riddle seemed to be in the mind of Orton and repeatedly went for sleeper holds, trying to weaken the Viper for the Bro mission. Orton retaliated well and launched into his brutal offense on his opponent, but as Orton went for the RKO, Riddle surprised him with the crucifix and picked up the biggest win of his career. Another crucifix.
Another crucifix. The day of crucifixes continues, yes. Yeah, it carried over from SmackDown to Raw, didn't it?
Yeah, it's carried on.
Yeah, I mean, I watched SmackDown and then Raw, so it all kind of blurred into one for me, but it was across two separate shows, the crucifix theme continued. And it was hilarious because I was sat here had my father-in-law here this morning when I was watching Raw, and literally as it was about to happen, I said, and now Riddle surprises Orton with something quick and pins him for the surprise win. And then within 3 seconds, bosh, into the crucifix pin. I'm like...
It's almost like you should be writing it.
Did nobody see that? Did nobody see me just call it? Like, wasted, man.
Oh dear.
But yeah, so now you know. Now I've told you that I nailed that, and
yep.
Yeah, and I think that was the best way of doing it. Like,
yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it seemed inevitable, but I really think that putting Riddle over Randy Orton in this situation in that kind of surprise way really works. And I hope that they continue that. I hope we get a longer Riddle and Orton rivalry heading into Backlash, so that that's not a show of pure rematches.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4D Gaming, you're right. WWE seriously need to work out if they want to push Riddle or not, because we're like, hey, championship, oh, you jobbed out. Oh, hey, go and face Sheamus, oh, you jobbed out. Oh, hey, go face Lashley and win the title, and now you can't beat Lashley again. Get annihilated by Lashley in the opening of the Raw After Mania. Yeah, we are so up and down. But if any character can kind of overcome that, I think it's Riddle. Because the fact that he's so kind of laissez-faire and relaxed about it, it's like, yeah, I've lost a bunch of matches. Who cares, man? I just turn up and I kick off my flip-flops and I try again. Whatever. So, yeah, I think Orton is going to beat the living hell out of him for a number of weeks now, and then eventually probably beat him in a match and then on to the next person. But at least he's got this victory over.
Yes.
What, a 14-time world champion in Orton? Is it 14?
Yeah,
he's
14 time.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool. I dig it.
Yes.
Okay. Here's one of the things that we put on the shelf and teed up for now. In more fallout from WrestleMania, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler took on a team that failed to win Tag Team Turmoil in Lana and Naomi. During the match, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke came to the ramp to show Nia Jax footage from last week, which caused Jax to not tag Baszler, leave the match, and chase them away. This allowed Naomi and Lana to take advantage, pick up the win over the tag champions by pinning Baszler. Backstage, Baszler told Jax, quote, "You'd better start paying attention, or else."
Yeah, I think they are going to break up.
Please don't pay attention, Nia Jax. I want Shayna Baszler to put your teeth down your throat.
Yeah.
Ducky McQuacks, sup? Still love that name. Such a great name. Welcome in, Ducky McQuacks. Shucky Ducky McQuacks. Quack quack.
Got very excited at that.
To throw the Booker T reference in there as well. Yes, so Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax. Again, Baszler has cost a victory by Jax in what must be the kind of 5th or 6th week in a row now, even without Reginald being the reason for that.
Reggie.
Why? Yeah. I mean, I know it's written that way. Don't give me the obvious answer. But why would Shayna Baszler put up with this nonsense for such a prolonged amount of time, given that she is well known for having one of the shortest fuses of all time?
Yeah. I don't know why.
It's not realistic. So
it's not
this or else ultimatum. Let's get to or else.
Yeah.
And drop those belts to somebody else. Yeah. I'm going to shelf that question, Ducky, and the follow-up comment from 4D Gaming for in 2 segments' time, because we will discuss that with the Alexis Playground that took place on Raw.
Yeah.
But shall we move on to the next part?
Move on. So, after Xavier Xavier Woods once again interrupted Elias's music. This week with a bass guitar. Kofi Kingston took him on in a match. Despite having the New Day in his head, Elias was able to pick up the win after an elbow drop from the top rope.
Yes. The only redeeming moment from this entire thing was Xavier Woods playing Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme on his bass guitar.
Yes.
Other than that, it was a total waste of everybody's time.
Yes.
Does that about cover that?
That's that. Right,
that
move
about
on.
Covers that segment. There you go. Right. On Alexa's playground, Alexa Bliss gave us some backstory about her new friend, Lily. She concluded the statement stating that Lily didn't like him and that she doesn't much like the other little girls of the Raw roster either.
So I'm guessing Alexa's going back into just annihilate every woman on the Raw roster. I hope so.
I think she is going back into singles competition. Yeah.
I do hope so.
And I hope that they kind of build her up as if she is playing that kind of giant powerhouse kind of role, like a Braun Strowman type debut, where she just squashes a bunch of local talent or NXT trainees for weeks, just completely annihilating people.
Yeah.
And then, as you mentioned earlier in the show, only at that point does the Fiend finally pop back up again and go, "Oh yeah, hi, remember me? You cost me my match at WrestleMania, and you were supposed to be my friend."
Yeah. Mandible Claw.
Yeah. And I don't know how they pay it off. That's the only difficulty here. Is we're not going to have the Fiend versus Alexa Bliss, are we? Let's maybe in a cinematic type match where they're kind of just using, might and magic against each other and not really coming to blows. But
I'd say cinematic match, but
yes. And to go back to Ducky McQuack's statement earlier, reckon WWE might end up trying to bury the Fiend to get this new Bliss stuff over. I didn't think so last week, but then this week, no Bray Wyatt, no Fiend segment at all.
Yeah.
So maybe, unfortunately, I think that might be correct.
A bit shame.
We're both massive fans of the Fiend, really like the character. Let us know how you feel about it in the chat. But 4D Gaming then said the Fiend is already buried, and he's great. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really been pushed very heavily in the last year since losing the Universal title to fricking Goldberg.
Yeah, that was kind of the downfall, wasn't it?
There is only up possible, otherwise it's just the same.
Yeah.
And then the question from Ducky: think Lily is going to be Alexa or someone else, possibly Nikki Cross, who was rumoured to be on Raw but didn't show. They never really paid that off with Nikki Cross, did they?
No.
Nikki Cross was going to save her from the Fiend and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was present last week, but not this week, was Alexa Bliss talking about her in addition to Lily. Last week she spoke about Lily and her, assumingly, Sister Abigail is where the kind of thought and rumour went. But has Ducky kind of nailed this, and that the possibility might be that she's got her new friend Lily, but the her that is telling her that she didn't need to be, seduced by the darkness and all that other fancy floopy language that she used last week, was Nikki Cross finally, being able to reclaim her friend, kinda ish. It's still the kind of same creepy Alexa Bliss, but distancing herself from the Fiend. So that's a possibility. But as we've, covered previously and have seen firsthand many times, perhaps this is too clever an idea for WWE to actually run with. And the truth is probably that Vince has got bored with the Fiend, and he's just going to put the Fiend on the shelf for a while and focus on Alexa. And basically give Alexa the Fiend's character and push.
Basically. Effectively, yes.
Yeah, so I kind of love-hate how this is going. Pardon me. I love and hate how this is going. I don't know how it can possibly pay off with the Fiend. And so maybe, Vince has realised, oh, hey, we can't actually have this match, so let's just forget the whole thing happened.
I should forget it. Yeah, probably.
Let's call the whole thing off, to quote a favourite song. The Fiend was a huge merch seller, though. Vince loves money, so I don't know why he doesn't seem to care. I mean, there have been so many opportunities for Vince to make money by pushing certain people to the moon, because they immediately would be hooked onto. If they push the Fiend properly, absolute money.
Yeah.
People love the Fiend when he's doing things well, when he's given the opportunity. Pardon me, my voice is really being weird right now. When he's given the opportunity to do things well.
Yes.
I don't know what Vince thinks most of the time.
I don't think anyone knows what Vince thinks.
It's so hard to predict what he's going to do, but I think the biggest mistake they made with the Fiend was putting him in the title picture. Not so much putting him in the title picture, but putting him in the title picture when they had no intention of keeping him the champion for a prolonged period of time. It was only worth doing if you were going to give the Fiend a long reign and just have him blast through the entire roster, retaining his title time after time, to the point that nobody wanted to face him because they knew that it was just a death sentence. That's the only way that title reign would have worked. And I thought that's what they were doing, and then, they had to put Goldberg back on the show, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. They seemed to realise that mistake when they did that awful Hell in a Cell ending when they were forced to put the title on him in Australia or Saudi or whichever show it was. Yeah. Yeah, it was at the
the
Saudi show that he lost the belt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we did speak about that Hell in a Cell ending. Was it the both of us? That Hell in a Cell, him and Rollins, or was that just me at that point? I can't remember. But I do remember not hating that and being in the minority of not hating that Hell in a Cell match.
I didn't hate it. Then it made him go to Saudi and have the Falls Count Anywhere match.
Yeah.
He won it there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And took it to Smackdown or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because then he turned it blue.
Yeah. Because I can't even remember now. We've had a whole pandemic since then. My brain is just awash with other things, but yeah. No, there were ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And it's none of the ways they actually did it. I do remember that much. But Okay. Moving on to another thing we've been trying to discuss all night, but we've been waiting till the final moment.
Yes. So after the second of two sneak attacks early in the night, Drew McIntyre insisted on a 2-on-1 handicap match against Mace and T-Bar. Despite the advantage, the pair failed to dominate the match and eventually got themselves disqualified for double teaming. Brought out Braun Strowman to chase them off, and on the other side of a commercial break, the match continued as a tag team match. Strowman made a big difference in the contest, It still ended in disqualification after McIntyre ripped the mask off Mace and beat him with it. After the match, Strowman also unmasked T-Bar, but the victorious pair celebrated their DQ victory on the way up the ramp.
Good. They're unmasked now. And
yes,
I love-hate that they didn't go, oh, look, it's Dominik Dijakovic and the other dude, Dio Madden.
Yeah.
They just pretended that they didn't know who they were, which I hate because that's just insulting our intelligence, but I like because I suppose we didn't really need to know that.
No.
And be like, oh my god, it was him all along. What a surprise. Oh.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Yeah.
But I'm really keen for them to develop this team of Mace and T-Bar and do something with it, because we haven't had a kind of big man tag team be successful for a long time. And I'm not including Heavy Machinery in that, because Otis is not a big man in the way that I'm kind of describing.
More like a taller...
The taller, kind of muscular, henchy kind of people.
Like the Brothers of Destruction.
Yes. And although, it's completely different, I do get major Brothers of Destruction vibes from this team. Like the APA, yes, 4D, absolutely. That's the kind of team that I'm going with. And if you can kind of pick out some decent story for this team, they can really run with it and be a pure tag team. Don't try and pick one off as the kind of front runner and put them into singles matches. Stay as a tag team. Really kind of use this Drew McIntyre situation to move off, beat Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, because they're the jobbers of choice at the moment in the tag team division. And then maybe that's where you go into a feud next with the New Day. They need something to do once they get bored of Elias and Riker.
Yeah.
Really cement yourself as a tag team. Give yourself actual names, even if it's not, Dominik Dijakovic and Dio Madden. Give yourself actual names.
Yeah.
And I dig the start of that. What is the beginning of a very good team. I hope they don't ruin it. And Drew McIntyre, meh. Considering how much the general public are souring on McIntyre as a babyface, they're not really doing a lot to help themselves here, because this whole I've been wronged, I go fight you it's not interesting to me, at least. Was it interesting to you? Interesting to the chat? Let me know. But I'm not digging it. And Lashley wasn't even there to kind of do his own dirty work.
Yeah.
McIntyre. Drew McIntyre. So moving on. Oh, hang on, let me just read this comment. Hope they're going for Lashley Lesnar at SummerSlam. Lashley versus Drew at Backlash. Then versus Jeff Hardy at Money in the Bank. We might have another Jeff Hardy fan here, Dan. That would bring the total up to 2. Strowman and Extreme Rules, and then the Lesnar match at SummerSlam would be a pretty nice path for Lashley. Yeah, I dig all of that except for Jeff Hardy. I don't think that does much for that lineage that you're talking about there. Just because Jeff Hardy's not a big dude.
No, he's not a big dude.
It's like, okay, you beat Drew McIntyre again. That really cements your place as champion. Strowman, you need to get to beat another big guy. Move, unless they push Keith Lee. That's funny. Just bring over someone from elsewhere. Bring over King Corbin. He's not doing anything. King Corbin's like, hey, where's my money for almost beating McIntyre before WrestleMania. Oh, you're not giving it to me? Okay, let's fight. And that can just be a throwaway match at a pay-per-view at Money in the Bank, which the title doesn't matter at that pay-per-view because the main focus is the ladder matches. So, have Corbin and Lashley at Money in the Bank. Yeah. Or call up Karrion Kross. Please don't call up Karrion Kross. Let him be good in NXT. Leave him there.
Let him be good in NXT for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't call anyone up from NXT right now. Please. Just leave them all. Leave NXT exactly as it is. And have them a chance to develop what they've got there. Because they've got some really good people that are only going to be ruined on the main roster. As is the tradition.
Yes.
Surprised EO didn't come up last week. Yeah, we mentioned EO earlier. No crowd is there. Probably waiting to debut her when people will care. But there we go. Now I will move on. On Miz TV with Miz and Maurice, the pair celebrated the season premiere of Miz and Mrs. last week. Damien Priest came out to seek a rematch after Miz cheated to defeat him in the previous week, and surprisingly, Maurice accepted on the Miz's behalf, and then threw champagne into Priest's face. In the match, the pair of Miz and Maurice tried to repeat last week's steal with the distraction and the feet on the ropes, but this time Priest kicked out, hit the lights, and picked up a good victory.
I moved away from the Miz.
Yes. He's conclusively beaten him now. Hopefully that is Damien Priest going to do something else. Unfortunately, depending on how many matches they want to put on this WrestleMania Backlash, I can see it being a semi-rematch from WrestleMania, and it would be Miz versus Priest for the third time. The rubber match, if you will, because Miz won last week, Priest won this, and it'll be a Maurice on a pole match at Backlash or something.
A Maurice on a pole match, steady on.
Which is just my default go-to match in the Vince Russo style of we need a gimmick to make the third match more interesting.
Is that just your fantasy, Maurice on a pole?
No comment. On that one, staying as far away from that statement as possible. Ducky, you are fully echoing what we said earlier when we were talking about Priest on last week's Raw. Time to move on for sure. He mentions Sheamus at the best time.
Yeah, he does. Good segue. In Adam Pearce's office, he welcomed the new United States champion, Sheamus. In conversation, Pearce suggested Sheamus reinstate the US title open challenge. Sheamus wasn't too keen on the idea, but did agree to have a non-title open challenge match. In the ring, Sheamus seemed to change his mind and asked someone to step up for a title shot, but as Humberto Carrillo made his entrance, Sheamus jumped him and beat him down to the point that the match never took place.
Hey, look. Pretty Boy's still a thing.
Yeah, he's still there.
He still exists.
He looks a bit more...
He does. He does look like he's hit the gym and he's trying to get out of that kind of cruiserweight mode. So there's that. I don't think it's going to make a blind bit of difference to Vince's wish to push him, to be honest. Because much like, stables, WWE don't know how to push Mexican / Hispanic wrestlers at all. So there's that. I was, and I don't know why I got excited, and I knew it wasn't going to happen, but still in the back of my mind I was like, oh, they're name dropping John Cena and saying, hey, you should do the John Cena Open Challenge, to which James was like, nah mate, I'm not doing that. Nuts. Okay, fine, I'll go to the ring and I'll call someone out. And then when he was like, okay, fine, I'll do it as a US title open challenge, I was hoping for whatever reason, because he was bored for 10 minutes, that it was going to be John Cena, and John Cena was just going to beat him for the US title and just have a bit of craziness for a while.
You were just hoping that it was going to happen.
I mean, I don't need to see John Cena. I don't particularly like John Cena. But it would have been fun. And I thought they would, dropping little hints that was going to happen. But yeah. If Keith Lee is cleared to come back, says Ducky, then the US title challenge will be absolutely perfect for him to make his surprise return and take the belt. Pretty sure that was the plan for the belt to go on him before he pulled out of Elimination Chamber. Yes. And now, I don't know what the deal is with Keith Lee. Do you know the deal with Keith Lee?
No.
I assumed... I mean, I know he got COVID pre-Elimination Chamber. Ian came back. I assume he's over it now, unless he has had added complications from that. But I assumed it was just, Vince being like, oh, fine, I was going to give this guy a chance, but he caught COVID, so screw him.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's happened.
So hopefully he does come back. And hopefully, for whatever the reason, be it that Vince is being a pig-headed Vince, or whether he's been, unwell or some kind of injury that cropped back up or whatever.
Yeah.
I hope he does come back, because there's a lot more potential in Keith Lee, even in the kind of main roster watered down Keith Lee. So yeah, and the Keith Lee versus Sheamus match would be incredible.
Yes,
they would leave with massive welts, each of them.
They would,
and
they would.
I'd be quite happy watching Sheamus and Keith Lee pass back and forth the US title for the few months leading up to SummerSlam, and they finally pay it off. When you don't know who's gonna win in the end, because Keith Lee's held the belt 3 times, Sheamus held the belt 3 times in that process, and they just keep. Yeah. You can't prove your dominance against the other. It's just a constant struggle. That would be cool.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yes, but it ain't no John Cena. Let's be honest. And now, in what has been one of our longest episodes of the main roster in a very long time, we reached the main event of last night's Raw, and ahead of her match with Charlotte, with Asuka, Charlotte said some words again. She was interrupted by Asuka, who herself immediately was interrupted by Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley. Ripley stated that she expected Asuka to beat Charlotte and that she'd watch it from ringside. Charlotte started talking again, not letting Asuka get a word in edgeways, until the Empress lost her cool and shouted, "I'm going to beat you!" Bleep, because family-friendly show. In Raw's main event, Charlotte showed her more aggressive side and took the fight to the Empress of Tomorrow. With Asuka locked in the figure 8, Ripley reached into the ring and broke Charlotte's bridge behind the referee's back. Asuka seized this opportunity and defeated Charlotte with a quick crucifix pin. Copy-paste. After the match, Charlotte beat up the referee as Raw went off the air.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. I'm all for Charlotte not winning things and then, beating up referees and getting fined for it and then not being put near the title picture for that reason. I'm all cool with that. That totally works for me.
Very cool with that.
I think I also like the idea that Rhea Ripley is going to keep doing things to keep Charlotte away from her.
Yeah.
Like, by hook or by crook, Ripley is not going to defend that belt against Charlotte.
Yeah.
She best not win the title off Rhea. They need to give her a lengthy reign. 100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
But Charlotte is the golden girl.
Yes. But maybe let's not do that. Let's forget that for a while.
Yeah, but this is WWE again.
I think Rhea and Belair are both getting long reigns. I hope so. And,
I hope so.
And Becky versus Rhea would be sick.
Amazing.
I would like Becky to come and re-establish herself before they got to that.
Yeah, come back, re-establish herself as the man, and then for Rhea. So come in, kick everyone's butt, and then go for Rhea.
Yeah, well, bring Becky Lynch back and put her in another rivalry with Charlotte just to get her established. You know, they can do that over and over again. That works as a feud. And have Becky come out on top of that, and then go after Rhea Ripley.
Oh.
I think though, and this is come up a lot as well, they're now at the point where they're like, no, we're going to save our big things for when we have a crowd again, because it really isn't that far off.
Yeah,
it really isn't, and I know the world isn't ready for it, and America especially is not ready for it. But this is WWE we're talking about, and they don't really care. So
yeah,
I think SummerSlam is their target, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have a show prior to that, or they start bringing crowd back to television.
Yeah,
before that. Once it gets to a certain number of vaccinated, they'll be like, okay, that's good enough. Only come to the show if you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to, put in your vaccine number or whatever when you buy a ticket. Something, I don't know. I haven't got a vaccine number. I don't know whether that's a thing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Got to prove that you've had a vaccination,
and then you can come to the show and start slotting people in around the Thunderdome stuff. Yeah. Belair versus Banks was such a great match. Banks had a brilliant reign. She has had a brilliant reign, and it's that SmackDown Women's Championship has just gone from great person to great person to great person, really, in the last couple of years. Like, Bayley's reign before that was fantastic. Banks, even though it was a lot shorter, was an equally good reign in my opinion. And I think now you kind of bridge the gap with the best of both of those, and Belair has a little feud with Bayley that she comes out on top of to really go, I'm better than both of these women.
Yeah.
Banks and Bayley, so yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that brings our recap of 2 Raws and a SmackDown to a close. We're clocking in at just under 2 hours, so we've just got a couple more things left to say. First of which is what's coming up tomorrow across our team of streamers, the Primetime Streamer Network. Wednesday looks like this. 5:30 p.m. It's Way Back Wednesday with VR Sorrow, the freshly rebranded Captain Sorrow. He's playing Sega Rally Championship, which is interesting. Mama S, who was here earlier, is playing Horizon Zero Dawn, again at 6:30 British Standard Time, summertime even. And at 11 p.m, it's Fortnite with Little Cute Girl 86, plus guests, I would expect. She normally has some other people come and join her. The former and the latter are family friendly, with Mama S being the only non-family friendly stream of the day. And other than that, the only other thing to mention is that we'll be back on Monday with our second episode of Re-NXT, our watch-along of NXT Season 1. We're going to be doing episodes 4, 5, and 6 on Monday. They're free on YouTube, so you can join in with us. Just turn up with your Twitch and an ability to watch YouTube on the side. You can watch along with us and do a commentary. Seth for a title? No. NXT Season 1, the
reality TV,
the reality version of it, mainly so we can mock it and and enjoy how different that was to the original NXT. But yeah, come along. It will be in the daytime on Monday. watch along with us. It wasn't at all as we remembered when we did episodes 1 to 3, really, was it? We were expecting kind of more of the kind of weird obstacle courses and things, but weren't there at all in the first 3 episodes.
No.
And really, it was quite enjoyable because it was the whole Daniel Bryan fighting with his mentor, The Miz thing. And that was actually really well done. So we'll see where it goes in the next 3 episodes on Monday. And we'll be back then on Tuesday for our next episode, regular of the main roster, where we'll look at this Friday SmackDown, next Monday's Raw, and hopefully that won't be copy-pasted from everything we've discussed tonight.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, are we getting our belts back out?
Getting the belts.
You get your main roster belt out. I'll get my clearly more official main roster belt out. So it says it there, the main roster. This is the belt.
Yeah, so does mine.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is, really. Yeah, get it off. Get it off the screen. Get it off the screen. My baby. This is where we depart. I'm going to go and cry in a corner. I've been Jez.
I've been Dan.
This has been the main roster, and hang around for a raid of somebody playing WWE 2K20. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.